Hi, ladies and gentlemen, this is Alvin from Dr. Wealth, and today I want to share with you a company called UiPath. It just recently IPO, and the share price have done very well in the first 2 days of trading, and there's a lot of interest in this stock, so I'd like to give my views on this. Usual disclaimer, pause and read it if you need to. Okay, before I continue, it would be great if you can subscribe to the channel if you like more stock updates and stock analysis in this form of presentation, right? So hope that you will be able to join us as a subscriber. And let's go back to UiPath, all right? We always have seen this in the news that there were a lot of automation is going to come in the next few years. AI is going to take away our jobs, and you see different kind of reports or studies or surveys that look into what kind of tasks or what kind of jobs are more likely to be replaced by artificial intelligence in the future. Okay, so this is just one of the many. All right, and why am I bringing this up is because UiPath is about automation. All right, and that's one more step towards having AI replacing some of the jobs that humans used to do. All right. So what is UiPath? It is known as the Robotic Process Automation, or RPA in short, kind of company, and it's basically getting robots to replace humans to do jobs, right? To go through certain work processes, especially there are those that are manual, time-consuming, and repetitive. Okay, these are the tasks that the robots can do very well, even better than humans, because they make less mistakes. Okay, because humans, when we get tired after certain hours of working, that's where mistakes start to creep in. Okay, but robots don't get tired, and robots can do this kind of repetitive tasks without losing their passion or interest in it. Okay, and all this kind of automation always tends to be like, oh, it's very complicated. You need to get developers and engineers to create for you, and it takes a very long development time before you can even really deploy it on a day-to-day basis, right? So what UiPath is different is that it made it very easy for everyone to automate their own work processes. All right, so it is built with a low-code environment in mind. Okay, so it's the user interface is a lot easier. You don't need lines of codes. You don't need to know programming language. You just drag and drop certain processes and just deploy it right to a certain work environment. Okay, so that's why UiPath becomes very a lot more in terms of their scale of adoption, right? Within the organization, it's more possible compared to the past, where a lot of programs you need developers to really do it out for you. Now it's different, right? Everybody can automate their work processes. This is just one example, right, of the many things or many work processes that organization can use robots to replace, right? This is, for example, screening of resume to shortlist and reject candidates. This is what a HR function will do, one of the many functions, right? And depending on the company, right, if it's a very popular company, you have like tons of resume that's flooding in for one post, okay, it can be in the thousands. And it will bog down HR, right? How many human eyes are going to go through these thousands and thousands, stacks and stacks of applicants to pick out the right one, even to shortlist for interview is going to be very tedious. So you can actually define some of the rules, right? And then you can get the robot to eventually help you sieve out, okay, either shortlist the candidate or you reject the candidate because it just doesn't fit the scope that you're looking for, right? The experience is lacking, or the qualification is lacking in certain areas. Okay, and you can even interface with your HR system, and they'll put in notes like, oh, this candidate has been screened by a robot, and then they even give you a probability how confident they are that this rejection is a valid one. Okay, so in this case, you say that there's a 68% confidence that this is not a good fit. Alright, so you can get robots to do this kind of mundane, especially voluminous kind of tasks that it requires just tedious grind work, okay? But it doesn't require that kind of human creativity or innovation or thinking of the person, right? So, which means if an organization can automate a lot of all these mundane processes, the staff can be deployed to better use. Okay, that robots probably can't do at this point in time, right? Especially in the creative field, innovation field. Okay, then the value add for the organization will be a lot higher. So, if let's say you don't want to develop your own robots, UiPath also have a marketplace where other organizations or other individuals who have used UiPath to automate some of the processes, they can also share it on the marketplace, right? And you can just, copy that kind of robots and deploy it in your own context, or even add it to suit your environment. Okay, so you don't need to really start from scratch. So you can start to see that, this automation empowerment is reaching more and more people via all these kind of tools and platforms. And in the future, I believe that, there's this, every organization may have this center of excellence for this kind of RPA adoption. All right. I believe that most organizations or companies do not have this at this point in time, but UiPath is trying to push for this center of excellence to be established, and their goal is to have a robot for everyone. Okay. Be it that whether you are a developer or whether you are really someone who has no programming background, but everyone who is employed has some work processes to be done. Okay, and the job best. What is mundane, what is repetitive. You can deploy this robot, and you just have a center of excellence, right, to really govern the entire process, to govern the entire adoption process within the organization, right, to prioritize all the resources. Okay, I think we should automate this because the cost savings is a lot more, right? Someone to oversee all this automation within the organization, right? So I do think this is a possibility. Okay, so UiPath in this aspect has the ability to really redefine the way people work in the future. Okay, so it is pretty exciting, and you can also open it up to a lot of other people in the organization, right down to the lowest employee rank, and anyone can contribute ideas, right? How do you improve work processes? How can you automate some of these things? Okay, I still remember when I was during national service, we do this thing called a unit suggestion system or work improvement teams, right? We're involved in all these things, but it's very manual, and a lot of people have to go through it. You even have a panel of the commanders to really evaluate your idea and see whether they want to deploy it, right? So now it's a lot more software based, right? You can submit all these ideas online, and then you have the center of excellence to review it. And UiPath can also give you some indication, right? Oh, this project you will save this much of money. This process will save you how much man hours from there. So it will help the company better prioritize what projects they want to pursue, right? Which automation they want to pursue first. Okay, so it is a very holistic kind of system. It requires certain change in organization thinking, of course, as well as certain restructuring, right, to create this center of excellence. But I do think that is the direction and the future of work in the next few decades. And it has a very large addressable market, as you can see. Almost any field, any industry will have work processes that are repetitive. Okay, whether is it finance, whether is it healthcare, whether is it energy, technology, telco, retail, logistics. Okay? So there's a lot of forms, all this to be filled for compliance purposes. So this robot can do all the job, right? You don't need to hire an army of admin, data entry personnel to do it for you. Okay, and these people can be better deployed in other areas that robots can't do at this point in time. And UiPath is not just a SaaS or a cloud company. Okay, although that is their premise of it, right? The whole primary operations are on the cloud. But if let's say there are some companies that are more sensitive with their data, they don't want to put on the cloud, you can also employ UiPath because they have on-premises software as well, right? That you can take it offline. There are hybrid ones, and then there are also you can use your own cloud. You can install this UiPath software to help you run it. So this versatile deployment can also help expand in different kind of companies, and then their total addressable market is even larger from here. Okay, so who are the founders, what are the shareholders, what are the directors, what are the people in power? Daniel Dines is the founder and the CEO. Okay, he doesn't have a lot of stake, okay, in the company, but in terms of the voting power, because of a Class B shares, he has equivalent of 91%. Okay, so he has a lot of power, even though he doesn't have a lot of stake. This is very common in young tech companies where they need to raise a lot of money, and when they do that, they lose the equity side, but because investors also want the founder to really continue to run the company. They bring in different kind of elements to the management, to the leadership, especially the vision, right? And in order to protect the founder, okay, to control the company, they usually create a Class B kind of shares to continue to give them the voting power that they need to run the business. The key shareholders are 3 venture capitalist company, right? Excel Partners, Early Bird Management, and Capital G. Excel Partners are from US. Early Bird Management focuses in European tech companies, and Capital G belongs to Alphabet, right? The parent company of Google has an 8.3% stake. Okay, so add up together, they have about 39, 40-ish kind of ownership percentage. All right, so that is key shareholders of the company. Okay, and let's look at their operating metrics. All right, they had 2 full years of operating results that was released to the public. Revenue has done very well. From 2020 to 2021, the revenue almost doubled. Okay, at another 81%, and for the median kind of SaaS growth rate is about 40%. So that's double that of median growth rate for software companies in the US. Okay, so you can see that this UiPath is pretty fast in terms of this growth rate. And another good news is that 2021, okay, financial year 2021, see a positive free cash flow status that UiPath have achieved, right? So this means that it is not burning cash. In fact, it's generating more cash than it is using, right? So that's a good sign. And even though they're not profitable yet, okay, they are very close to it. All right, you can see in 2021 they are much closer than before. All right, so they are on the right track. Okay, probably they'll reach profitability in as soon as 1 year, right? The next financial year. The cash flow is already positive. That means that they have infinite runway from here, barring any adverse situation that happens in the future. All right, and out of this $600 million, very large percentage are recurring income, very subscription based, and that means that these customers are very sticky. Once they are on board with UiPath, it's unlikely they will switch another vendor. All right, and in fact, their growth rate of this recurring income is going at 65%. Okay, still a very high rate compared to just the median growth rate of 40% in other SaaS stocks, all right, in the SaaS industry. And the dollar-based net retention is 145%. This is also a very high number, best in class. That means that those who have been current existing customers, they continue to subscribe to more services from UiPath, and that's a good sign, right? Because your customers are coming back with you because your product is good, your service is good. They're going to spend more in the following year, and that's what makes this UiPath a best in class in terms of software companies in the entire industry. It is not without competition, all right? It has 2 other major competition. One is Automation Anywhere. This is based in India, and then Blue Prism. This is from the UK, all right? Automation Anywhere is not listed, so the information is limited, while Blue Prism is listed in London. Okay, so in terms of revenue, I just wanted to pull out the 2020 revenue, even though UiPath has a 2021 revenue, because just to be fair comparison with the other 2 companies, we look at 2020, right? So UiPath in 2020 have a 336 million revenue, and Automation Anywhere actually is at 377 million, so it's actually higher than UiPath. And Blue Prism is the smallest of the 3, with just 194 million. In terms of growth rate, UiPath in 2020 grew 86%. While Blue Prism grew 46%. All right, so you can see that despite having a larger revenue than Blue Prism, UiPath was able to grow faster. All right, and the retention rate is also much higher than Blue Prism. So you can see that in terms of the operating stats, in terms of quality of the business, UiPath is a better one than Blue Prism. Automation Anywhere, because of lack of information, we can't establish that. All right, but at least from what we saw in 2020, their revenue difference is not that large. Okay, if the growth rate for UiPath is faster than Automation Anywhere, that means that UiPath has already surpassed Automation Anywhere to become the largest RPA company in the world. All right, so it's pretty promising. In terms of valuation, I put this out from public comms and to show you that, based on the growth rate, revenue growth rate, okay, what is the corresponding EV and next 12 months revenue multiple. All right, so being UiPath being in the 80% range in terms of their growth rate, their EV NTM should be around 29.4 times. This is the average of those high growth SaaS company. Okay, this is the number we're going to look at to compare with UiPath. And based on the number that I have right now, EV NTM revenue for UiPath is 38.9 times. So it's actually higher than this 29 times. Okay, and definitely higher, much higher than Blue Prism, which is just 5.8 times for the same ratio. Okay, that shows you that UiPath is definitely a market leader compared to Blue Prism. Okay, and investors are willing to pay a much higher multiples for UiPath than Blue Prism. Right, so it looks relatively expensive, and this chart is from public comms. Okay, comparing all the high, fast growth SaaS companies. Right, you can see that the UiPath will be located around here, and this is like the fair price regression line, okay, between the revenue growth and the EV revenue multiple. And if we base on that, then and as well as the previous slide, right, I get a fair price of UiPath around $47 to $57 per share. And at the point of recording, the share price is trading at around $75. All right, so it looks a bit relatively expensive, right? And I understand it has to be that way because UiPath numbers are really good. Okay, and people can see the potential, and even like the very well followed ARK fund has started to invest in UiPath right from the first day of trading. Okay, and they're adding position even on the second day of trading. Right, so I think that a lot of people can see this potential, right, and they don't mind paying a higher price. Okay, and I do understand that, if you look at some of these very great performing companies, they tend to always trade on an overvalued price. Okay, so that's it, right? If you don't mind and you really like this company, you might need to pay a premium. Okay, and otherwise, you probably have to wait, and we're not sure, right, whether it will go to that fair price range that we're looking at this point in time. So in summary, I do think that this is a key company that will shape the future of work. So it's playing a very crucial role. I would think that their revenue growth will continue to sustain for many years to come because of the very huge addressable market that's presented to them, right? It's almost industry agnostic. Every industry have processes to be automated. And that means that there will be a lot of reskilling of workforce. There will be a lot of redeployment of staff and employees to other areas of the business. Okay, so we are living in a major transition time. And second point is that it has solid performance metrics. It's top of the class software companies, right? If compared to a lot of other SaaS company, it's right up there for UiPath. And that is also why it is relatively expensive, okay? And if you really like the company, you really like the prospect of it, right? I believe that you probably have to pay a premium at it. I believe that you will trade at an overvalued price for most of the time. Okay, so that's my analysis of UiPath. And if you like more, if you like to be alerted of the future videos I'm going to do, please subscribe to our channel, right? Dr. Wealth channel, and I will have more things to share with you in the future. Hopefully you like it, and let me know, right, whether you will buy the company or you have bought the company, and what do you think? Okay, maybe you have a different thesis. You think that this is a company that you should not invest in, right? Share with me in the comments below. I hope to see that. Thank you very much, and all the best.